The section of my Coreldraw tutorial. This particular tutorial is centered on graphic design for absolute beginners. So in this particular tutorial, I'm going to be walking you through the Coreldraw tools that you need to know and how to use them. So just go along with me as I introduce you to these tools. Alright, so when I open my Coreldraw, this is what I'm going to be having. You might have something different. It's possible you have it in this manner, or whether you have this screen or not, you always have this paper set up depending on the version of Coreldraw you're using. So I'm just going to click OK for now. I don't want to adjust anything here except for this resolution, of which is not actually useful in this section and in this tutorial. Alright, I will explain why you need to set this to 300 and above later in my other tutorials. Alright, just click on OK. So while I click on OK, it takes me to the Coreldraw design environment. You can see that the paper on the screen is A4 for now. When I change the paper, the size also changes, and you can see, so that's just that. But for now, we don't need the paper size because you're not going to be working with it. Alright, the very first tool on the left corner of my screen is the pick tool. The location of the tools might actually be different depending on how you have customized your your Coreldraw layout. I can decide to drag this and bring it down here depending on where you find convenient for yourself. Alright, so the first tool, just like I've said, is pick tool. Is a tool that is used to pick anything on the screen. Maybe there's an object here, so let me just draw something here. So let me just drop another object here. So the pick tool is used to drag and select items. So just like you can see, if I apply color to this, I can actually pick this. You can see, so this is that. So the pick tool is used to drag and pick objects, resize objects, duplicate object. I can, while dragging this, I can just click on my right click button to duplicate this particular object where my pick tool is selected. Alright, so that's just about that, about the pick tool. So I'm just going to delete this. The next one is the shape tool. Just like the name sounds, or just like the name, it's used to make different distortion and shapes around objects. For example, when I click on this shape tool and I select this object, you can see it has 4 edges. I can drag. You can see with my rectangular tool, I was able to form a circular shape just by dragging the point on my rectangular tool. I can also do this and return it depending on what I want. You can see I've added some border radius to my rectangular tool. If I have to zoom up so that you can see what we have, you can see that the edges are now kind of curved, so you can reduce that, you can increase that rather than reduce, so depending on what you want. So that's what the shape tool is all about. It's for making shapes on objects. So I won't stop there. I'm just going to draw another rectangular tool. So actually also instead of using my shape tool to increase or change the value of the curved edges, I can also use value. I like to keep my units to inches. I just like it that way. So I can increase this from this value to, let's say, 2, and you will see the difference. You can see that this is kind of a big curve compared to other ones. So I can decide to change this to 0. Sorry, 0. You can see that this edge is straight. Then I can decide to change this to 0 also. You can see that that is straight, and I can decide to increase this by 3 so you can see what we have. So you can see that. Alright, so that's about that. Also, I can do a lot of things. I can pick on my shape tool and delete this point in. But if I have to do that, I have to convert this shape to curve, which means that I'll be able to manipulate each part of this particular shape. So I'm just going to go ahead and just drag this to the left and right rather. Then I'm going to take another rectangular tool. So this time around, I want to click on Ctrl Q on my keyboard or come to Object and select Convert to Curve. You can see that the shortcut is Ctrl Q. So when I click on that, it allows me to be able to manipulate each part of this object just like I want. I can do a lot of things with this, just like you can see. So you can see. So let me just do something that's different from what I've just drawn. Now look at what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to Control Q. No, I don't want to do that. Let me just reduce this first. Okay, let me just walk you through this in case you have issue with your keyboard, so that you get familiarized with the menu options. So Control Q, I pick my my shape tool, then I delete this section just by double clicking on that. Then I can convert this section to curve, something like this. Can you see? So I can also convert this. Why I did this, I just right click on this point and I click on convert to curve. Then I can also have this. It looks like some drop of oil or water. So you can adjust with this, and you can see what I have there. Another thing I can do is just increase the outline to 2. I can pick up my freeing tools. I can click, hold my control key and draw a straight line. Let me just make it 2 for now. So I can just highlight this with this, then click on this convert to curve icon, or I just press Ctrl key on my keyboard, then I just drag this out. You can see I just drag it out just like I want. Okay. Excuse me please. So I'm going to do this. Alright, I want to do this. Pick on my freehand tool again. Click on this point. Double click. Come back here. Double click. Then join it to this point. With what I did here, this become a whole shape. You can see. So I can manipulate and edit everything here. So what I just want to do here is I want to excuse me please. So convert this to curve and do the same for you. Alright, let me zoom down, right click. Excuse me. So what I have. We use this when we want to design something like fire-like, when we are having our church design or anything. So we use it for something like fire-like in our design. So with my shape tool, I'm able to manipulate and have this, so it can be fire red for fire, and add a lot of effects to it and all of that. So that's just about that. So let's go on with our tool. All right, now I'm just going to try to import a particular object. Should I do that? Okay. Let's try and import an object. I want to quickly do something with the next two. Excuse me please. All right, let me go with this. All right, let's take for example, I want to reduce the size of this. Instead of having to use my, okay, let me just duplicate it so I can work with one and use the other for the next one. So I can reduce the proportion of this image by using my shape tool to select this edge and holding Control and drag. I have to hold the Control button so that it goes on a straight line. If I don't hold my Control button, I can have something like this. It can come this way, which I don't actually want. You get? So I have to hold. I light this section, then hold my Control key, then drag in, so I can reduce all the unnecessary portion of my image. With this. So instead of using the shape tool to do that, I can actually use my crop tool to do that. So all I just have to do is I have to have my image, then click on this crop tool, then just mark the area that I want to crop. You can see. So once I mark that, I click on the enter button on my screen. The unnecessary portion is removed. Okay, let's do this again and click on enter. You can see. Let's go on again. Let's click on enter, just like you can see. So that's what the crop tool is for, is to reduce unnecessary details or unnecessary portion of a particular image. All right, I don't want this video to be too long such that it becomes boring for you to absorb. So I'm just going to be taking this section of these tools gradually. All right, the next tool here under this crop tool is the knife tool. All right, later I'm going to explain the knife tool under the design portion because it's going to take some kind of long time to explain that. Same with the eraser tool, just like the name says eraser, it's used to erase portion of a particular design, but you can see that it's not working on this object, for example. So just like if I click on this and I use my eraser tool, you can see I can delete some portion of my design. But if you look at what is happening here, it's just creating some kind of bezier portion of my image, which is not what I want. Okay, but sometimes later in this class, I will explain how you can use the eraser tool to actually erase and have a perfect image. So that's about that. Then okay, let me just quickly show what the knife tool can do. The knife tool, if I click on this, for example, and I click on this, normally it's just going to cut that edge away, just like knife is used to cut away edges. So you can see now, so I have image, I want to cut out some part of that image or design, or I'm creating a particular shape and I want to cut out that particular section of that shape. That is what the knife tools does. All right, the next one is the pan tool. I can select that by clicking on the letter H on my keyboard. I think I'm done with this. Yes, you're not going to use this for now. Sorry, I skipped that. The zoom tool. The zoom tool is to zoom up work or either zoom out or zoom in work. For example, if I can zoom this to focus on the eye alone. Can you see? So I can right click to reduce, to restore down, or to zoom out, or I can actually click on this minus one here and it will reduce the proportion of the image on the screen, or I can use the plus, as you can see. But the problem with the plus is that it's not going to actually give you the what you want, doesn't bring it to the center of the screen, so just the way I want it. And that is why we use things like F3, F4. F3 is to restore down, F4 is to bring the design to the center of the page. Excuse me, please. So, but if on your keyboard you're having anything like FN button, so that means you have to use FN F3 to restore down and FN F4 to bring to the top of the screen. All right, so that's been said. So the next one is the pan tool. The pan tool is similar to the pick tool and zoom tool together, in the sense that when I click on this pan tool, I can actually drag my image to the center of the screen. Oh no, this is what I want to pay attention at. I can easily drag. No, I want to see the information on this side. But to me, I felt it's a waste of time and it's just not useful to me. The reason is because I can just press F4 or FN F4 on my keyboard to have everything on the screen. Do you get it now? And just use zoom tool, that's F2, to highlight the portion I want on screen, rather than dragging, coming to the edges and looking for details or information that is not lost. So I just go by this. So I just use FN F4 to have them all on screen. You can see, regardless of how far I have gone away from my screen. Let's just take this now. Regardless of how far I have gone away from my screen, I don't have to start by using this to drag. No, I don't have to do that. All I just have to do is on my keyboard, since I have the FN key to be FN F4, on other keyboard that's the FN key is not available, to just be F4. All right, so with that being said, the next is the freehand tool. The freehand tool has a lot of functions. It can be used to trace objects. It can be used to draw objects. It can be used to excuse me, please, draw lines. It can be used to draw rectangular shape tool. Actually, the last time I used the freehand tool to draw this fire-like object. Okay, let me just quickly talk about the tracing, and I'm just going to zoom this up. So with my freehand tool, I can begin to trace the details of this image. For example, you can see what I'm having here. I'm just going to do this section alone. Okay, Now with my shape tool, I can just convert this section to shape. Okay. Okay. Let me just keep it as simple as that. Alright, so let's call this edge. Okay, so let me just do this also. Now if I apply color to this section, let's take black for example, you can see that I already have the air line drawn. You can see what I have. So we use this in tracing object or drawing shapes of object and all of that. So let's assume this particular figure on screen, I want to have the cartoonized version of it, or I want to create excuse me please, I want to create a vector image of it. I can actually use my freehand tool and some other tool. Alright, so let's just leave that. I don't need that for now. So under this freehand tool, we also have bezier tool, two line points, the pen tool, these and small other ones, smart drawing and all of that. So you can see we can have a lot of them like that. Just like that, I can okay, let's zoom up and have this. Zoom down a bit. So if I use my smart drawing tool, I can have this. Just the same way I use my freehand tool, I can have this. So if you look at that now, let me just give you white so you can see what I have. The edges are not connected. One of the edges is missing, which is this area. And if you look at it, this area is not really connected, so that's why I'm not having that. So most of the time, the freehand tool is better than all of this. So the freehand tool will allow you to actually trace what you need to trace. I can keep on drawing instead of just having points and later converting it to curve. I can actually have what I want to have there. Every details I want to have, I can have it there. You can see. So I can have this and also join this here. So that's just about the freehand tools and that. So this is artistic media tool. Is a kind of tool that we use in drawing some certain shapes like paste, like for example, you can see, oh sorry, this is too big, I have to reduce the size. So let me just zoom down and I'm going to do like this. So when I click on this, I want to reduce this. I want to reduce this. So this is kind of small a bit. So you can see I used to draw similar shapes like that, and so it depends on what you want to actually use or actually this for. But in the subsequent classes, we'll look at how to make use of these in our design such that it makes it unique. Alright, the rectangular tool is the most common and most used tools in Coreldraw. So you're going to be using this almost all the time. This is already 20 minutes recorded, so I don't want this to be too long. So I'm just going to quickly run through the order, then I'll give a detailed introduction on them later. The rectangular tool, for example, just like I've said, you want to design. Most of the time I don't resize my actual paper. I actually pick a rectangular tool and work on my size on this. So let's say, for example, I'm going to be designing something in square shape. So I'll just pick this and I begin to design my work. I can have my bottom section depending on what I want to design. I can have my upper section, Control Q, pick shape to So depending on what you want to do, I'm just saying, you get now. So rectangular, if you look at everything I've been doing is rectangular too. You can see. So from the rectangular tool, we have 3-point rectangular tool, which give us a sided like rectangular tool. It's more like rotating our rectangular tool to a particular dimension. If you look at this, has been rotated to 331 degrees. So this can also be achieved by the normal one, but in case you just have to have that directly without having to do all that. So the same thing with the ellipse tool, the same thing at the circle tool. This is my circular tool. Maybe I want to place an image E. What I just have to do is select my image, right click and click on power clip inside, select my image and I have it there. Then I can adjust my size. I can adjust the size depending on what I want anyway. So, actually this doesn't make sense, but just for explanation's sake. So I can decide that I don't want to have a full circle. I can play with my with these. I can have 200, and you can see. So maybe I just want to have this like a kind of loading, or for example, now when creating resume, you want to explain how good you are about a particular subject. So when the full circle actually denotes that you have 100% knowledge about that skill, you want to reduce some portion so that this can be maybe 70%. Maybe you can have 70%. So maybe this will just be 70%. You get. Maybe when this is 100%, for example, So there are a lot of things you can use this for. There are a lot of things we can do about our, what's it called? Excuse me. We can do about our circular tool. A lot of things we can use them for. Okay, so that being said, and just like I said, I don't want this to be unnecessarily long. The polygon tool is used for drawing anything relating to polygons, starting from triangle, pentagon, hexagon, anything that has to do with polygon shape, even star. Yes, for example, I have it set to 5 points. So when I draw this, I can pick up my shape tool and drag any of the points in. I have my star already. But actually, there's a star tool, which is this. But in case you want to draw a star with many edges, so you can pick up the star, or you can just draw this and increase the more you increase this what's it called? The points, the more edges it gives your shapes. So you get that. So that's for the polygon tool. The complex star, the green paper. This is maybe you're drawing a graph sheet. So this is that you want to draw something that looks like a spiral shape. This is that maybe like mosquito coil. I will explain later in my training how to draw the perfect mosquito coil that looks 100% like the mosquito coil using the spiral tool. So another thing here is the basic shapes, the arrow shape, the flowchart shapes, just like the name connotes. So they are just used for what they say. For example, this banner shape is used for the bottom section of a particular design. For example, like you're drawing a school logo and you want to have the section where their name is, you get it now, see? So that's the bottom section. That's what we use this banner shape for. Okay, so call out shape, for example, for a dialogue whereby two people are talking and you can see that is what this call out shape is used for. Or for example, I have an image here and I want this to say something, so that's what the call out shape is used for. All right, the next shape here is the text to A. It's the one I use to type this. So once you just click on it, you can use to type anything you want to type. So I believe you're very much familiar with that, so I don't have to stress myself on that. Why the other one is the shadow tool. Now let's take for example, now when I have this text E, and I'm using Plumful for example as my font, and I set this to white. Okay, this text is not going to actually show on a white background because the color is also white. So the shadow tool will actually help me to have my image show on that white background because it's adding some kind of black background around it. Do you get now? So that's what the shadow tool does. I can then add outline or remove my outline, increase my shadow and all of that. You can change your shadow color to whatever color you want. You can change the shadow style to normal, from normal to subtract, and just go around with that. And if I don't want the shadow any longer, I can just click on this to remove the shadow, and I can just delete my text. All right, the next one is the transparency tool fill. The transparency tool fill is used to light up a particular section of an object. For example, I'm just going to zoom out now. If I click on this and apply my transparency tool, it fades this towards the bottom part, because that is the kind of transparency I apply. If you look at it now, so you can see, so the more I increase this, the more it fade out. We use this in design when you want to fade out some particular portion of your design or background. So then if you don't want to use that that I've used, you can undo. Okay, you can also fade the entire image proportionally. So just by selecting the uniform transparency, you can see the effect applies to everything. You can increase your transparency ratio to whatever you want. So for example, if you are designing a letterhead and you want the church logo or the school logo or the business logo to be at the center of the page of the letterhead, then you want to add transparency to it, because it won't make sense if it is too bold or showing too much, because it won't allow text written on that particular paper to actually show very well. So you need to add transparency to that. All right, for now I'm going to stop here. This is the eyedropper tool, or the color dropper tool rather. I'm going to stop here because we are going to be using almost all of this in our design, so you get. So let's stop here for now, and we'll continue in the next class, where I will introduce you to how setting up pages, setting up color, design color, and all of that. What's the difference between RGB, red, green, blue, and CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, black? Okay, why are these very important in our design? How do you combine and form your own color? All that we'll look at in the next section of our classes. All right, if you have any question regarding this particular class, please do well to ask me after going through this video, so that I can prepare the next part of this video. Or say thank you for choosing or taking a bold step to step up to learn graphics. And I assure you that at the end of this training, you're going to be proud of yourself as a professional graphic designer, because I'm going to be following an approach of a total newbie, a total beginner, someone who has not been into the design game before. So thank you again, and God bless you. All right, so I'll see you again in the next tutorial.